The spread in this one favors the road Stallions by 3.5. The total sits at 42.5. And the forecast for this one says mid-70s, partly cloudy, with 10 to 20 mile an hour winds at kickoff. So let's start with big game Bob Stoops and that Renegades offense. This offense is now led by Chuck Long, who was co-OC here last year. So same system for the returning starting quarterback, Luis Perez, who was last year's XFL title game MVP. All the skill possession guys return for Perez, headlined by tight end Sal Cannella. And if you look at the newcomers, I think the Renegades really crushed this draft. They bring in all XFL wide receiver Deontay Burnett, who starred in Houston last year, and their number one pick was a home run. Do not sleep on quarterback Lindsey Scott Jr. He will not enter the season as the starter. I'm not suggesting that Perez will be benched, but there is no better athlete to have if you want that Kelly Bryant package that the Renegades featured at times last year. I do have questions about that number one pick. How did Arlington end up with the number one pick in the draft? I mean, you're the league champ. That doesn't add up to me at all. I guess it was a trade with San Antonio, they said, during the season. Ended up being a great trade because you get the FCS Heisman out of it to back up Luis Perez, who, funny enough, was once the Division II Heisman. So quarterback room in very good hands in Arlington. The offensive line looks a lot different. Stoops has an endless list, though, of Oklahoma Sooners that he can just dial up at any time and retool with. He got a couple guys up front from Boomer Sooner, and that's really a summary of their offensive personnel, a ton of returning talent. So we try to find what's the potential edge for Chuck Long's offense against a Birmingham defense led by John Chavis, who is a longtime SEC defensive coordinator. And on paper, this unit is scary. It's loaded. Some key guys here: Taco Carlton, former first-round NFL draft pick out of Michigan. DeMarquise Gates is back from the Chicago Bears. He was once a Stallion. He's a stud spring league veteran at the linebacker spot. And Kenny Robinson anchoring that secondary. He was a safety for the XFL Battlehawks back in 2020. So kind of hard to get a read on the Birmingham defense week one because they do only return, I think, 3 or 4 starters from 2023. But it really does look like an all-star team that kind of reloaded with that fringe NFL talent. Great job there by the young GM, Zach Potter. So final verdict for me on the Renegades offense versus the Stallions defense. And I know I'm going to get pushback. Everyone's all over Birmingham. They're running to the counter. They're betting this spread. They're betting Birmingham futures. Listen, if we learned anything last year, it's about continuity, right? And I know the Stallions have that under this staff. But if you look up and down the roster and just the personnel, it's a lot of new faces. Will they gel? For Arlington, I feel like there's nobody better at executing a play script than Luis Perez. The run game was iffy at times last year. I think it'll stay probably about the same, but the wide receivers got better. You got Sal Cannella, and Lindsey Scott Jr. is basically Kelly Bryant evolved. So Stallions D is solid, and so is Coach Chavis, but slight lean to Perez and the Arlington O being able to get the job done here. Now we flip sides of the ball. We want to look at the Birmingham offense against that Arlington Renegade defense. To me, this is the headliner of the matchup. You got the Skip Holtz offense against the Jay Hayes defense. Is anybody else as fired up as me to see Matty Corral back on a football field? What a signing for Birmingham. I'm just going to give it to you straight, guys. If Matt Corral is healthy and playing his best ball, he's the most dangerous quarterback in the UFL, and that's because of his wheels. His last season at Ole Miss back in 2021, 11 rushing touchdowns for Corral led to him being a high-round draft selection to the Panthers. And if you know Matt Corral, he does not slide. He will take guys on head-on, and he's also got something in common with A.J. McCarron and a few other quarterbacks in this league, including Jordan Ta'amu. He did it against SEC defenses in college at the highest level of college football. Corral and the Stallions could be the perfect marriage. I know a ton of Ole Miss fans are going to cross over to Birmingham fans down there in the Deep South. And if the 25-year-old can play the same way he did at Ole Miss, I think he has a pretty deep receiving core to be a star in this league. For the receiving core, to me, the headliners of the room are Deion Kane and Benjamin Victor, who some of you will remember out of Ohio State. He broke my heart back in college when he came to Penn State and took a touchdown to the house my senior year. Just a brutal loss for the Nittany Lions, all because of Benjamin Victor. And I also love kind of what the Stallions will be able to do in 12 personnel looks. So the one running back and the two tight end set with Jay Sternberger and Jordan Thomas, who was with Orlando last year, and with them two potentially out there at the same time, and a nice tailback in CJ Marable. Marable's actually one of only 3 or 4 returning starters on the offensive side of the ball for Skip Holtz. But I don't think that matters, because the theme for Birmingham this year wasn't about bringing back a bunch of guys with that championship run. It was about reloading. They got all these fringe NFL types and even proven USFL commodities, and they can really run up against a brick wall with this Arlington defense if they don't gel right away. This Arlington front seven, LaRon Stokes is all XFL, Devontae Lambert, all XFL, Donald Payne, one of the best linebackers in the league last season, and they added former first-round pick Vic Beasley from the Vegas Vipers. It is stacked for Jay Hayes' defense. They return 8 starters on that side of the ball. So for me, it's all going to come down to the quarterback play for the visitors. I know there's been some chatter about Adrian Martinez, maybe in some running packages, but to me, you don't really have to go with Martinez because you have that running ability with Matt Corral, who did it in college. And with Arlington, Luis Perez doesn't scramble much, so having Lindsey Scott Jr. offsets the Luis Perez and being able to do different things. I do think Matt Corral will rush for a ton of yards in this game because he'll be running for his life. But give me the Arlington Renegades, the XFL champions, straight up to start 1-0 at home. Zook, take it away.
I'm going the other way. I'm taking Birmingham.
Great start for us.
Well, if we don't disagree,
big surprise. Yeah, wow.
Are we really doing it? I mean, Birmingham's cream of the crop. Favored for championship last year, pretty much right out of the gate, the whole way. Straight up, I like them. I kind of like the spread too, a little lean, but I don't know. Birmingham to me has the most to prove. We talked about that on the show earlier this week, and I think they're going to come out with some fire. I think Arlington's going to take a little championship slump here.
Yeah, and if you think about this one, it's not really a road game for Birmingham. Again, we want to remind people that the UFL hub is in Arlington, Texas, so no travel required here for Birmingham. They've been practicing in the city. And when it comes to the Stallions, it's just about, will they have enough returning guys and will they have enough chemistry? I think at some point in the season, that system is really going to start to click, especially in their conference games. But week 1, watch out for big game Bob. I think Luis Perez comes out slinging it. And I'm going to go Arlington. I was shocked. They were a 3.5-point dog. You're giving me 3.5 points with the champs.